Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dads. We have returned. It's been a minute in real life, but we are picking up right where we left off. You guys had gone to the mountain to discover whether or not your suspicions about this strange being were true, and whether or not you guys discovered what you'd hoped to discover remains to be seen. Upon an invocation from Riff, there was a reaction from this person. You guys have given him a name, correct? Like just an alias? And what have you referred to him as?
I think just like Lon.
Yes. So he does not seem very pleased. And in the tail end of the last episode, he uttered a phrase in a language that you don't know, but you recognize the tail end of that language. How would any of your characters decipher a language that you don't know from a magical perspective?
I mean,
used to be comprehend languages for Riff.
Right.
Easy.
And if you know that, then I would ask you this: who amongst you has mental magic?
Me.
All right.
Four.
Those of you with mental magic of at least 2, I want you to make a willpower plus magic roll and tell me the result. Because I'm assuming that you desire to understand
23.
what it is that he told you. What'd you get, Humphrey?
23.
on 6 dice, I managed to get 9.
Oh, man.
I got 18.
18. 18 is good enough.
Tuco's like, that doesn't sound like giant.
What did you mentally translate his message to be?
So, you want to go first, Nathan, or me?
I will let you go first.
Okay. So, I'm going to do this in a kind of way where, because this language is still new to Riff, it's going to be sort of like broken, not like a direct translation, but I figured it to be like something like, you know, how dare you? How can you use that name? And then, you know, Upai Vasei Hoof, basically, something like that.
Yeah. And that is mentally the gist of what you get from when the Lan spoke in this tongue to you.
Yeah.
And you don't think that, like, his demeanor when he spoke that was one where of a reaction, you know, to this almost like an aggressive invocation that you had.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem premeditated when he said that. It seemed very reactionary. Upon speaking this to you, he kind of like recoils. And then you notice that he turns his head and he looks past you guys, like to where, you know, when you like walk up the path from the little ravine, like he looks beyond you guys and he seems to be like looking back there. And he says, "Who is that who comes?"
It is Estrof.
Who? You have another among you who've come from a different place. I sense him.
Yes. I thought,
I
well,
sense
it's just the
him.
voice of Estrof.
He is different from you.
It is Estrof, Pinebark.
Estrof, as you walk up this path, you arrive at this rocky plateau in front of a large mountain, the largest of a trio of mountains. And there is a large cave entrance. What you see are your compatriots, and you see a ring of stones and a strange-looking man within the ring looking at you intently. Your friends told you about this strange man. They described him as either some kind of demon or perhaps some kind of angel. He does not have any weapons or any evident belongings with him. He says, "Are there more of you from the other place that you came from?" He seems to be waiting for your response.
If there are, what does that matter to you?
Wouldn't that increase our chances of success in what you've asked?
Exactly.
It may. He says, "Why is this one different?"
Different how?
He refers to Estrof, and you guys notice that, as you noticed previously, Estrof effectively looks the same. He's still small and still a gnome, but his pointed ears, like Riff's, have become rounded. He says, "This one bears another magic."
Kind of common from where we come from.
How is it that I sense within him powers from the gods?
Maybe your intuition is off today. Who knows?
You know, maybe some things happened at our camp that don't work to your plan.
I have given you an opportunity. Now I will ask you. Do you choose to enter the cave?
Yes. Let's get this going.
And do you, and he points to you, Estrof, he says, will you go with them?
I would go anywhere they're going.
Then it shall be so. Are you in need of a contract? Or shall we simply agree upon this?
I think a gentleman's agreement is fine.
Or over a drink.
I think that's an excellent idea. Shall we break it out?
Yeah, I get the endless bottle. And without even offering anyone, I start drinking, and then after a few sips, I realize, oh, does anyone else like some too?
He says, I would imbibe. He takes 5 stones from the ring and holds them in his hands, and when he opens his hands, each stone becomes a cup, basically, like a clay cup. And he hands each of them to you. And then he waits patiently for you to pour some wine into his own cup.
So there's more than one cup, or just the one cup?
Everyone has a cup.
All right, so I pour him a cup, and pour me a cup. I'm drinking that cup as I'm pouring the next cup. And I do that, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Slowly, stilly sips.
All of you enjoy a nostalgic taste of the finest wine.
Durant will leave his and not drink from it. He will say, "You can have my share," to the lawn.
The lawn drinks the wine. And you see, kind of like lets it linger in his mouth. And then he swallows it and he says, this is superb. He says, this is elvish wine, isn't it?
What do you know of elves?
And then in elvish, he says, what do you know of elves? Human.
Humphrey's ears perk up since he speaks Elvish.
All of you speak Elvish. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, that's the language
Yeah.
you were trying to keep things in secret with.
He says,
Awesome.
he says, do you desire to return to a place with elves? This is something I could do for you.
Oh no. Humphrey doesn't know. Humphrey's
I'm not-
enjoying where he's at.
I'm not sure of what you can do for us. I mean, it sounded like you were swearing me with your reply back there, and I'm pretty sure you didn't give me your name. And although I did recognize Hoop's name and what you said, by the way, how does it make you feel that a revival has broke out of Hoopai, to say I Hoof?
Also, while that's happening, Durant is going to use the copper heart necklace to put up a mind shield.
Okay.
Humphrey says he'll settle for a favor.
He says, Upai Visei Hoof is not forgotten in all of the lands. If you desire to go to a place where he is known, I can make those arrangements as well. But it is not the same place where you would find elves.
I was just curious how you felt because I've only been aware of Upai Visei Hoof for a few days now, but I already get the feeling that it likes me better than it likes you, who've probably known it for eons, I'm guessing. But maybe you don't have any bad feelings towards
Yeah. Why are you trying to get rid of us so quickly?
that too.
Oh, my small-statured friend, it is not I who am trying to get rid of you. You see, my desire is to leave this place. And that is why I have made this agreement with you all. If you are able to recover what I need from that cave, I can not only be free of this place myself, but I can make the arrangements for you to go wherever you desire.
Things may change as we go into this cave. When we come back with this object, let us negotiate then.
Of course.
Anything that's within your power, you are willing to give us.
Of course.
And what if we fail to retrieve the object that you seek?
I will continue to be, unfortunately, here. And you, as well, will be here.
I can think of worse fates.
Yes, as can I.
I'm sure you can make those worse fates happen.
There are things that I can do that will make the attempt for settlements more difficult. That is true. Whether I would do such things, who knows? As I have told you before, there have been many others throughout time who have tried to come here.
And I'm sure those others give you thanks for all the suffering you command.
Many of them I did not interfere with. They failed themselves. It is often in the greed in the hearts of men that creates the failure.
Well, let us at least make an attempt to retrieve this object.
This is my desire, and I greatly anticipate your success.
Can you give us any idea of what we have ahead of us that faces us so that we can prepare? Have better chance of success.
Would that I could. I would provide you with a map. I would provide you with every detail. But I do not know what the gods have placed in the cave to protect that which they seek for me not to have. So, as I cannot go in myself, I cannot share such things with you.
Can you
It
give
is
us any
sealed
thoughts?
from my vision. But this does not mean that it is sealed from yours.
Is there anything that any spells, any enchantments that you can provide us to help us as we enter?
I assume the cave is dark and that you will need light.
So,
And I, if I were you, would assume that the gods have put things in place to make it not easy for one to acquire that which I need.
Then why are you so sure of our success?
Because you are unlike any others who have come here before. You do not come from Kikapulan. You bear magic that I have not seen.
So I go back to my original question. Are there any enchantments or spells that you can
Or weapons.
go upon us to help us as we enter?
Or any blessings.
Yes. Buffs, if you will.
Seeing in the dark.
I cannot bless you. There is something strange. Something that affects you that prohibits me from granting these things.
So be it. Okay, let's do it. Humphrey looks to the group kind of in are you guys satisfied? Anything left sort of way?
Ah,
I just
Estrof agreed with alcohol. He goes.
I'll wait till everyone else has responded before I put in my last thing.
Humphrey looks at Tuco. You ready, old friend?
I've been against this since the beginning, but I've come around that this is the only option we have. So I'm all in now.
Humphrey nods and kind of like, pats him on the shoulder. Good to be here with you, buddy. He looks at Durant. Durant?
I am ready. This
No.
will end one way or another.
Nods. And then he finally looks at Riff.
Yeah, I couldn't leave without speaking one last thing to Lon and Meta. This is where I'm going to create a new spell for Riff.
Yes.
Hopefully. So-called spell.
Bring it home, brother.
It's so basically Riff is going to bring all his spiritual energies to bear to invent what I'm calling the Gish. It started as this was I know you've probably seen this word before. Gish is how it's pronounced.
Huh.
Basically, it was going to be a curse, and then it became malediction, and then it became proclamation. So it's finally settled with this thing, which I will, for you guys, I will paste in there. All right.
Yes.
And for everyone at home, I'll mention this. But basically, it's kind of like a vow, but it's placed over a creature so that if they violate this thing, they'll basically be cursed. But if they go along with it, they can be blessed.
It's a magical pinky promise.
Yeah. In fact, that should probably be the name instead of the Gish.
No, dude,
It's such a weird
great.
pronouncement. So I think I put everything in there in the chat, Bill, for you to see and consider what would this be. But it would be spiritual, and like I'm thinking a level 4, because it's going to be a vow that I'm going to speak over it in a moment after, or I can speak over it now, and then you can just tell me your reaction to it.
Go for it, man.
Speak over it.
Okay. So, and Riff, of course, is looking at this thing. And so, because I don't trust you, and because I think before you had actually told us you could help us with some of the things in the cave, but now you've changed your tune. So I speak this Gesh over you, Finup. So that is why I name thee, for lack of a better name, since you've not told me. And I know I'm not fluent in this language yet, but I've been picking up on some basic words and simple sentence structure, I think. So, I say to you, Ag Zua Jaimek, Zua Tavez Gasei, Kav, Ag Zua Jessen, Dua Keldol Jaisai. You know, in the name of Hoof and the transdimensional anomaly here. And I'm gonna paste this for you guys too. It's a very crude attempt at this language, whatever this language is. It's basically saying, yeah, you know what the spell.
No.
does.
So, what is the translation?
Bill needs his decoder ring.
All right, so it's it's kind of this broken thing where it's, if you help, you stay free, but if you harm, you back here. And it's sort of his attempt at rudimentary this language, because I'm saying that if you can speak the Gesh in like a creature's heart language or whatever, like their native, what they prefer to speak, it's more potent. Or if that can't work, at least it's more personal.
And what happens if it's broken?
Well, the pronouncement is, it's supposed to imply if you harm, you know, if you bring harm to anyone, then you're going to be back here in prison again. Like if we help him and he's set free.
Okay.
But as long as he doesn't harm, if he's helpful, then he can get rewarded.
My calculation of this is because it's a level 4 magical spell. It's going to cost 10 qua. Because I'm adding maximum impact for 4, maximum duration for 4, and then range and area of effect are just 1 each. So
yeah, I was prepared to burn everything.
So let's say this is going to be 10 qua. You're going to make a willpower plus magic roll, and because you spent some time developing this, I'm going to say that this is going to be difficulty 8. If you make multiple steps over that difficulty, it will have a longer duration.
All right. Rolling commencing.
That's interesting, but we didn't talk about in the meta before this about what happens if there's an infinite duration spell.
So the way I look at it is for anything, right? For any roll in this game, if you achieve a step over, it adds effect to whatever you were trying to do. If you're making a knowledge roll, it grants you more knowledge. If you're making an attack roll, it might grant you more damage. If you're making a casting, it can bump up one of the 4 effect structures. So if he's already maxed out a duration of 1 hour at level 4, but he gets, let's say, a full step over, then we're going to increase that to 12 hours. And if it's 2 steps over, it'll be 24 hours. So in theory, depending on how many steps over or times that you recast it, you can keep something like this going.
Because I was thinking of it more in terms of when you can put magic on an item, right? That's kind of there until, like Magic Mouse, for example.
Right.
That's gonna until something that activates it or whatever.
Right.
That's more what I was hoping. But anyway, I got a 20 on the roll.
Okay, so that's huge. So this is going to last for days. And it won't be triggered until your intended trigger. So
right.
He narrows his eyes and just borderline glares at you. And you notice that he seems to be kind of contemplating a response. And he doesn't take his eyes off of you, but you see, like, he seems to be kind of suppressing his feelings about this.
I wonder if there's a save for it.
And he looks at you finally and he says, "Wise Zim."
Spelling, please.
Actually, he would have pronounced that Wise Zime.
So, me with my 4 mental, what would I interpret that as?
Kind of just an acknowledgement. Like,
Okay. So be it.
and then you see He says, I cannot place any magic on you. The moment you walk through the threshold of the cave, my magic is nullified. But I can impart strategies. The gods will have placed great protections on what lies within. Not my kind, mind you, but the very clever Kapu. They would have placed things that would challenge all. The strongest, the wisest, the most intelligent, the most agile, the most intuitive and perceptive. All of these things must play a factor, for the Kapu would know that whoever seeks that which is within would not be so easily defeated.
Would Savak Boku be one of the Kapu that put in protections in there in this cave?
Savak Boku is a god. The Kapu are celestials, like we
I
are.
thought Kapu was gods. All right.
You said before many parties came and attempted this and failed. How do you know they failed? What happened? How did you know that they failed? Did they come back out? And if so, did they say anything?
Most never came back out. He says one did. There was one who did.
And what of them?
He was unable to acquire that which was needed.
Was he wearing brown or black robes?
He wore black robes and a hood. But he was able to find another way off of this island.
Did you see his face?
I did. He had a slender, narrow face with a pointed chin. Shoulder-length, long brown hair. He was young, but obviously very adept in the ways of magic.
Did you get his name?
That is something that is very valuable. Why would I tell you this?
I'm wondering if it's a common acquaintance.
He did not come from the place that you come from, if that is what you seek.
I'm wondering
What
if...
did he go there?
He came
Maybe a summer home?
He came from another place. A place known as New Wolf Oatmai. It is the place where you would find elves.
And to where did he go?
I do not know. He unlocked a waystone. I believe his destination was Arakazine.
Curious.
He possessed a familiar creature traveled with him invisibly. A small winged dragon.
Okay.
I can't make any guesses because there's no way that we would know.
No,
Yeah.
there's
But
zero
we
way
should
that
we
would
should
know.
all know this.
Says,
I do
will-
have a couple questions.
Yes.
My God, let's go.
So, you said that your magic would end if we cross the threshold with it on us.
Yes.
No one else's magic will be disrupted? Say, like, A necklace?
not
I
think-
point to Riff.
I do not think that what lays inside prevents the magic of others, but it bars me from entering, and thus any magic which I would imbue from having no effect.
What if we put it in a box? And then our magic in the box? Would it be safe?
There is only one material that would allow such things.
Do you mind if we test this? Do you have the ability to cast a simple light spell on my dagger?
He
I'll
does.
try to walk in with it. Okay, cool.
Put it under your
Alright.
shirt.
Woo, close.
Humphrey, you immediately recognize that the simple light spell that he cast on the dagger is actually quite complex, using both energetic magic and material magic. But he did it immediately upon request.
Noted.
Did we
Alright,
hear him
cool.
speak any words when he did that?
No. Actually, now, Tuco, you should make a willpower roll.
Straight willpower?
Just straight willpower.
Oh boy, this will be good. 6. Not
He
bad
says-
for 2 dice.
He says to you, I do not need words for my magic.
So Durant has a higher level of perception probably than anybody else. Did Durant perceive anything maybe on the edge of the perceivable spectrum?
No.
Okay, so I couldn't do perception plus magic, let's say, to see
Oh,
if there was
yeah.
anything.
I mean, but you don't need to make a roll.
Okay.
You would have noticed that when he did, first of all, he did that upon request. Second, he did not speak any words of power when he used his magic.
So words of power must be for us lesser creatures.
He says, it is a means of control.
With enough training, could one aspire to not use words of power?
Some have achieved this.
It's good to know.
Right, guys, come on, let's go. I'll lead the way. Rip jumps out with the lighted dagger.
Remember what I have told you. The Kapu have devious ideas. They are the architects and engineers of the gods.
Great. Thank you for that.
I will attend you with hope. All right, so with
go.
Riff's glowing dagger, do you guys cross the threshold into the cave?
I would follow Riff's glowing dagger into hell and back.
Okay. The moment that Riff crosses the threshold, the dagger stops glowing.
He turns around and he's like, hey, your light spell ran out. Not a very long duration. Give me another one.
Well, this is where Humphrey ends his journey, I guess. So
He reaches up his hand, and you see that nothing happens to your dagger. He says, it is as I predicted.
And I pull it back out, like outside the threshold.
It lights up. Out. Yep.
All right, you are a very trustworthy and truthful being, I gotta tell you. All right, so can anyone here do that, Humphrey?
what do you want
Can
me
we
to do?
see right now, or is it completely
Yeah.
dark in here?
So remember that you guys went up there at dusk, and by the time you're heading into the cave, it's pretty much nighttime.
Okay.
So it's a normal type of light. It's not magically dark or anything like that.
Yes.
Who has dark vision?
No one.
Nobody.
Nobody here. We all suck. Okay, Humphrey.
Would I have changed?
So you would know this, Estrof, that your innate racial abilities like dark vision are no longer in place. However, you would also know, Estrof, that your ability to control all of your bodily functions has radically changed, including things like wild shit. Yeah, I didn't mean like you shit yourself.
I was just like, he pisses himself in
I mean, you're like, you know, and you figured out that you can wild shape to a lot more powerful degree. And it occurs to you, Estrof, that if you could change yourself and wild shape into things that can see in the dark, that you might just be able to literally adjust your eyes to be able to see into the dark and to see on different spectrums of light. So if you would like, Estrof, what I would have you do is make a willpower plus magic roll. So you're going to roll 7d4, and you're going to add up your 7d4s and tell me what the result is.
And that would be 15.
All right, 15 is more than adequate, and it actually allows you to impart this effect on 2 other people.
Well, obviously Riff, because he's up front, and now he's got a sad, unglowing dagger.
Oh,
And-
pick me!
Yeah, I'm definitely going to pick Tuco,
Tuco.
because he can't do a lot of magic for himself like that.
He's barely helpless.
Okay, and it occurs to you that if you could do that, you might be able to do it to cover the last 2 members of your party as well. Make me another roll. Same dice roll, 7 dice.
So 14, 15. Huh.
That is, again, more than adequate, and it bumps it up. So based on Estrof's roll, each one of you effectively have dark vision for 1 hour.
Nice.
That's
Thank
way
you.
cooler than me turning into a lightning bug.
Yeah. Fair.
Can you tell me how that happened again?
And Estrof, you have spent 10 qua. So your maximum qua pool, which you started off after resting and everything. Yeah, so you've spent 10. You got it. Exactly. So
Yep.
So are we still sort of in the entryway, or have we proceeded a little deeper in?
We're just standing there trying to figure it out. He's staring at us from 10 feet away.
I'm still trying
This
to
is
figure
why
out
no
how
one's come
I-
back yet.
how
you
I've got
guys,
dark
the
vision.
rest of you guys notice a couple things. Well, actually, so Estrof, you actually don't know that you did this. But when you cast the spell, everyone else heard you say something. And you said this phrase twice. What they heard you say was this. They heard you say, "Wo to oog pojva." Wo to oog pojva. And suddenly everybody could see in this darkness.
Masters Riff and Durant, this was able to give us the ability to see in the dark. Didn't you guys have the ability to see in the spirit world? May that be helpful here as well?
Yes, I think that would be helpful.
I don't know if we can do both at the same time or not, but just thinking out loud.
So now basically all of you feel like you have this ability to see in the dark that you didn't previously have.
Hey, Bill, can you describe the surroundings? What am I looking at? What are we seeing?
The cave extends for probably well past the 60 feet that you could see. And it goes from kind of the wide, 15 feet across and 12 feet tall to kind of a more narrow cave-like tunnel with very rocky, kind of sharp rocky angles. And like,
we're talking like a lava tube, sort of like long, thin, deep, like straight.
Yes, and as it proceeds in, it narrows to about 10 feet in width and about 10 feet in height.
Okay.
And that's kind of what you see immediately in front of you. There is absolutely no trace of any recent activity in this initial length of the cave.
Anything in the air?
So, like, no cobwebs, not...
No cobwebs, no animal droppings, no tracks or prints.
Is suspiciously devoid of life?
Yeah, I would say that's an accurate assumption.
Okay. And nothing in the air that would
Nothing in the air from where,
air or any of that?
Nothing in the air from where you guys are, but you are also really close still to the outside.
Yeah, fair enough. Humphrey's looking at the group, like, let's go.
So I know Riff said he was walking up front. Who's walking next to Riff?
I will.
Okay, so Estrof and Riff, and then who's in the middle?
I'll be the
Tuco.
Tuco.
I want to be
Yeah.
there. Tuco.
Yeah, basically when Riff's dagger went out, he put his arm around Tuco. He's like, "Hey, Tuco, buddy," and he kind of pulled him in front of him. Not sure if Tuco allowed that to be pushed up in front, but that was Riff's
So
attempt.
the question is Tuco going up front, or is he hanging back in the middle with his with Humphrey?
Durant will bring up the rear.
Okay.
Gentleman friend is the term you were looking for, Bill.
And Tuco will be in the middle. That way, that gives him leverage to go up, forward or back as he needs to.
Okay. And does anyone have any items at the ready? Weapons, perhaps, at the ready? Anything like that?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely pulling out. I'll probably pull out my my short sword, and I'll also use the Scarf of Aged Father's Wisdom, which gives me a spiritual effect too, to sort of put up a little thing that'll ping me if anything spiritual is happening around us, if
Okay.
that's something that can be done.
You can absolutely have that set up almost like a ward, basically, that's triggered by any spiritual activity.
Yeah, essentially anything like around us in like let's say a 30-foot radius.
Okay.
Tuco's going to have his longbow out, but he's going to have his sword at the ready as well.
Okay. As you guys begin progressing into this cave, you walk for, like I said, the first 60 feet, very similar. It kind of narrows down, then it gets to that like 10 feet wide, so you guys can walk two across. This passage continues for another 60 feet, and then it gets to a fork, actually a three-way split. And it's not exactly straight left and right. It's more like straight, but on a slightly down ascent, left and a slightly up ascent, and right at the same level that you're at. So kind of left up, straight down, right at level. And if you look down each of these ways, it looks very similar in terms of the size and scale of these cave-like tunnels. But you notice that each direction sort of has a different... actually, you know what? Now would be a good time for perception plus nature.
Nine.
10.
8.
What did Estrof get?
So that's how many D4s I roll, right?
Yeah.
I got 18.
Okay. So, Estrof, here's what you smell that you could relate to the party. The way going straight and slightly down has sort of a smoky kind of smell, like burning kind of. But you don't see any smoke, you just smell it. And then you kind of get a whiff of the left way that goes up. And it oddly smells a little bit like kind of stagnant water and kind of damp. And then the way to the right smells oddly like almost like a forest, like a deep forest, earthy kind of smell.
Huh. And the smoky, we're not talking like pecan or cherry wood, right? No one's making brisket. Right?
No, more like
Roast oak, my friend.
almost
Yeah.
kind of a sulfury kind of charcoal burning smell.
Huh. I think I would want to go right naturally just because of the forest smell. I might not even think about it. I might just be turning that way even if it catches you guys off guard. And just kind of go to the
You
right.
guys see Estrof start heading to the right.
Well, I guess we're going right
Yep.
too.
You're in the lead.
Okay.
I love that no one's going to question me.
As we go
Well,
As
we're
we
good to
sort
next
of-
at this point.
As we start progressing, Durant's gonna not shout, but he's going to say, hopefully enough for Estrof to hear, "Hold up, one moment."
I stop, and when I turn, y'all see that I've got the wine bottle in my mouth.
So Durant at this point is going to pull out the lump of clay, and he's going to wrap the vial of blood in the lump of clay and turn it into lead. Actually, hang on. Would Durant know that that's a thing that you would do to prevent, effectively spying? If Durant doesn't know that, then he doesn't do that.
I don't know that he would know that.
Would Humphrey know that?
Unless
as
he did
spy?
it.
Humphrey would know that.
But Durant would
Durant might do it out of just, worry that it's going to break if we get in a fight.
Perception plus magic, Durant.
Okay. $17.
Okay. I would say that from your esoteric kind of studies, you would know this.
Okay.
Now, to actually make it work the way that you're doing with bind spell, right? Because you're using spirit magic and
Well, I'm using, the lump of clay
And the lump
is
of clay.
material. The lump of clay is the material magic. It's a material 2 effect.
okay. All right. You feel like it works.
Good enough for me.
And then as we're walking down the right path, Tuco's going to turn around and walk backward and watch the rear.
You don't see anything coming up behind you. Do you guys follow Estrof down the path to the right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. This path kind of goes for a while, again, like maybe 60 feet more, but then it starts to curve around a little bit towards the left. And then that smell actually comes to all of you. It smells like very, very earthy. And you catch a whiff of a little bit of that earthy smell, but also like a little bit of cooler air. And as you kind of come around again, going maybe another 60 feet around this curve, you see light up ahead. But it's not like white light. It has kind of a purpley glow. And you see that there's like an opening to this tunnel that you're going through, like a larger kind of cave opening. And as you approach it, you see a huge cavern. Enormous cavern. And it is lit through this sort of ambient glow from these large purple glowing mushrooms. The mushrooms are ranging in size from like 3 feet to like 10 feet in height. And they have kind of different shapes and different patterns on them, but all of them are glowing like this soft purple glow, which sort of illuminates the entire cavern in this soft glow. You also see a dozen trees kind of sporadically spread out, and it looks like the ceiling of this cavern goes up probably 60 feet, if not more, but that's how far up you can see. The cavern is at least 100 feet in radius. It kind of goes for as far off as you can see. On the floor of this cavern is basically just dirt and mulch and like leaves. You don't see any evidence of animals, but it looks like this cavern has sort of almost a primordial arrangement. It's almost like this, like a subterranean cavern. And you can even hear water droplets. You hear like the sound of water dropping somewhere off across from where you are in this cavern.
Tuco's kind of worried about this, so he wants to like check the ground as he approaches one of those light-giving stones, and he's like wants to like check for traps and see if there's anything.
The mushrooms.
The mushrooms, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so like as you guys are sort of entering this cavern cautiously, I'm assuming, Tuco, you look at this mushroom. Go ahead and make a perception plus nature roll. What is Riff doing during this time?
These aren't really like our mushrooms back home, are they, Estrof? You ever seen anything like this?
No, I'd imagine they're much bigger, or we're much smaller.
Does anybody have spiritual and temporal? I have an idea.
Yes, I do actually.
Is there a way that you can look back in time to see what route the gods took when they created this?
So we're thinking about, what did we call it? Some echoes of the past. But that's the recent past, but that's why you want temporal as well, right? So that I could check further back.
So
What was a two temporal?
This could be a good idea. I'm sorry if I'm disrupting everything.
Oh, you're good.
It's not. If you were to try to do Echoes of the Past, that's a spell that you know. You'd have a difficulty of 8, and depending on how much over that base difficulty is, that's how much you would glean, or in terms of like how far back in the past you could see.
Could Durant lend his spiritual magic to this endeavor?
Yes.
So that gives a spiritual 3 to play with.
You could grant spiritual sight. on
Okay.
Riff, and then he could use Echoes of the Past to see in both of those spectrums.
Are you just trying to save my usage of spiritual magic since I'm adding temporal, or?
So
Yeah.
if you basically granted Riff Ghost Sight, which in the new system would cost at the base level, it would be 4 qua.
So it's just basically Ghost Sight is all I would be doing.
Yes, but then he would have that to his advantage when he utilized Echoes of the Past.
Sure, let's do it.
I would do any of this myself, except I got zeros in both.
All right, so go ahead and minus off 4 qua, and actually give me a roll anyway, Durant, just to
Okay.
see if you go over.
Willpower, spiritual.
I mean, I would assume it's religion, willpower plus
Oh,
religion.
religion. Right. Okay. So one less die. Okay. 12.
Okay, so now Riff, you're going to make a willpower plus magic roll.
$25.
Are you serious?
Did you say willpower and magic?
25.
That's 8. My first roll of 4 was 4443. So, and then added some to that.
Ripped like 50.
He's my boy.
That's insane.
Now my temporal magic is 2. So I don't know how that limits,
Well, but it's
back.
no, I mean, because all you're doing is looking.
Okay.
You're not trying to go back in time. You're just looking back in time. So with the
Back
ghost,
in
so here's
time.
what you see: a montage sequence of just like, imagine like mushrooms growing and dying and falling onto the ground, and then new mushrooms grow, and then the trees getting, that are big, like getting smaller, and then one tree dies and it falls to the ground, and then another tree rises. So you basically see the cycle of nature happening in this cavern, right? At a certain point, you see a group of 6 giants striding in here and walking across the cavern to the other side of the cavern. And then you see, at another certain point in time, you see a group of 6 really small, completely hairless, gray humanoids who seem to be about the size of Estrof, coming into this area and cautiously looking around. And they actually spent a little time in here, and you see them picking up stones and looking at the stones and examining them and then setting them down. And you see them going up to the mushrooms and like touching the mushrooms and stuff.
Hairless, you say?
And then you see them proceeding past and into the further parts of the cavern. At a certain point, you see this cavern and all the natural things begin to shrink into the ground. And then you see the ground, actually, like the dirt and mulch and all that stuff, shrink, and it just becomes a barren, rocky cavern. And then you see 3 spiritual forms. They're tall and slender with dark features, but they have wings. But they seem to be standing in a circle, and you see like powerful spiritual energy around them. And then they disappear.
Gotcha. All right.
What direction were they walking when they disappeared?
They didn't walk. They appeared and they disappeared.
Oh.
They were there and then they were not. Estrof, go ahead and make a perception plus nature roll.
Oh, well, it should just be 7. Actually. I really need to buy a 7th one. 23.
Okay. The mushrooms are alive, and not just in the way that plants are alive. You're fairly certain that these mushrooms are alive and that they are sentient.
Oh, great.
Am I able to like pick out a face at all, or just know that like, hey, don't pee on this?
You don't think that they have humanoid things like faces, but you feel like they are. You feel like they are aware, and that maybe they even communicate with each other.
So when I saw the 6 giants go through and the 6 goods or canoes, whatever the little people are called, I don't remember. Anyway.
The goot?
Goot, thank you. Did they come back? Like I saw them like entering where we are, right? Did I see any of the groups? No, that wouldn't happen because we were going back through time. So
I mean, you saw giants.
Yeah.
You
Group of 6
saw
giants.
goot, and those were the only groups that you saw in that historical rewind. Those are the only ones that you saw.
Right. And then the
So
3
the-
spiritual beings.
So the
Go back to the fork in the road and determine which way the spiritual people would have went.
well, I mean, the other thing is we didn't see the guy who went to Arakazine. We didn't see him pass through this way either.
But he didn't make it through, right?
Well, nobody's
He
made
came
it to
back
what
out.
we need to get.
He got to the fork and went, ah!
That would be a straight shot.
No, there's probably a door somewhere in there that he couldn't figure out, so he just walked away.
Yeah, that's standard adventuring.
So yeah, I relay all this
So,
information to everyone, and I basically think I saw when this life was created here by these 3 spiritual beings. They didn't witness this, right? We don't have like a mind link up right now.
We don't have a
Anything,
mind link.
mental link.
I could
So I
break
just
need it, but I don't see the need.
I'm pretty sure I saw the life being created in here by these whatever, maybe Kupai or Kai, and I saw giants and possibly goots go through. I didn't see any sign of distress, right? I didn't see any fighting of like mushrooms against giants and goots or anything in my vision, correct?
You didn't see any fighting at all in
Any
this.
fighting, just and the goots were examining the mushrooms. I don't know if I saw one eat one or not, and then look super strong from eating one of the mushrooms, anything like that. That'd be kind of
Hey, Estrof. Didn't you have the ability to speak to plants historically?
yes, I in
Ooh.
fact can. And I was just going to say, we could just ask them. But what was that about eating them? You said yes or no?
Frowned upon with sentient beings.
cool.
I don't know.
I mean, they probably shed
So-
their skin. Could try it.
So I walk up to the nearest one and kind of, I guess it's stalk and grab it almost like it's a hem of a skirt and say, "Excuse me, sir or ma'am."
Hold up, isn't the mushroom technically the reproductive part of the form?
Of the fungi.
Yes, thank you. My stealing of the word I was looking for, yes. So you grab it by the wing and you start talking to it.
Might get attention.
You notice that it kind of tremors a little bit.
Sorry, I'll mute myself.
But it doesn't make any noise, but it kind of like tremors a little bit, almost like there's a breeze blowing at it, but there's no breeze.
So I try to imitate, and I'm like,
Like a better.
First contact. Very nice.
Are you still touching it?
Yeah, I'll keep one hand on it and like, ooh, I gotta like look around like, am I doing this right?
Okay, make a straight willpower roll.
Alright. Just scroll back up.
Epic fail at the mushroom cave. Wah, wah.
Or it depends if you look at the mushroom perspective.
Right?
That's an
It's
8.
Mushrooms should be getting some good visions at least.
Eat.
New allergy
8.
unlocked.
All right, so you suddenly hear something, but it's in your mind. It's kind of a message, a telepathic message that you feel is coming from this mushroom. And it says, do you know the offering?
That's it. Just, do you know the offering?
That's it.
Do you know the mushroom man?
I would assume not. I thought that was an incomplete sentence.
And then you hear in its mind, death feeds life.
We're gonna have to sacrifice Tuco.
That is rather foreboding. Who's death?
That which lives must die.
Oh man, do you ever don't have like Twig or whatever the heck that thing's name was?
Am I still carrying around some meat?
Sure.
Yeah. So I reach into my pack while still touching and be like, this is dead. Although, I don't know how it travels. Interdimensionally, you know. But you're free to try.
As you do that, you notice that the mushroom glow next to you and all the mushrooms near it begin to fade out. Almost like lights turning off, but like on a dimmer. And then across, it kind of moves, it becomes darker and darker. You guys can still see all of the mushrooms moving away from you across the cavern wink out, except for one mushroom that's still glowing all the way across the cavern.
Oh, that's a magic mushroom.
And you see it's not only glowing, but it's kind of pulsating in a glow.
Was this the one that's next to Estrof, or did that one go down?
The one that was next to Estrof, when he pulled out the meat, went down. And then gradually everything near you guys went down, except for one tall mushroom all the way across the cavern. And you see that like you'd have to walk through the cavern and past a bunch of mushrooms and past some trees and past this little pool of water to get to that mushroom.
What are we gonna sacrifice? What? Death?
So I'm gonna like holler down where it disappeared and be like, okay, I guess I'll give it to them.
I got a feeling.
You see that mushroom that you were talking with briefly glow and then wink out.
Uninspired. I don't think this is gonna do it.
It's okay. I know a guy. Let's go over there.
Okay. I'm trying to think what we could sacrifice.
All right, so you guys start walking across the cavern.
Yeah, with my turkey jerky.
Does anyone do anything else while you're walking across the cavern?
I'm definitely head on a swivel looking.
Yeah, I was gonna say some sort of perception.
Okay.
If there's
All
that
right.
pond, I'm definitely want to check out the pond.
Is
Okay.
a straight perception roll?
Yeah, no roll necessary. You're just being aware. You're looking around. When you get to the center of the cavern, and there's a pool of water, and you see now that dripping sound that you heard earlier is literally coming from like water that's dripping from like 100 feet above you at the ceiling, at the apex of this cavern. and it's just dripping down, and that appears to be what's feeding the pool.
So is there any kind of rock formation that like is dripping this water and like controlling its flow?
Well, you could see, I would say you could see to the top of the cavern. And at the top of the cavern, it just looks like there's like literally one stalag thing hanging down that the water is dripping from.
Okay.
I'm having flashbacks of the last time Estrof led y'all into a cave with water.
And and nothing is pinged off the spiritual ward I have up, correct?
No,
Would that have faded by now?
no, I'll say it's still in effect. All right, so you're standing at the pool. It's not a huge pool. It's maybe like a 10-foot radius. So you could just walk around it to continue on to the one glowing mushroom. But does anybody else do anything?
I mean, I'll look in the pool, sure.
Okay, you look in the pool. It seems like you could see to the bottom. It's not deep. It's maybe 2 feet deep at the most. And the water, every time like a drip from above comes, there's like a natural ripple. But the water otherwise seems pretty still.
I'm trying to get to the mushroom because, like, I'm still trusting my connection, and it's as if like I'm in a store and someone's like, "Oh, it's just on that shelf."
Oh, wait, do the rest of us know what the mushroom said to Estrof?
Estrof, do you share that with everyone?
No, because I mean, I still feel like there's no danger, and no one has questioned me yet. So I'm in my element.
Did Humphrey like witness Estrof kind of conversing with this mushroom?
No, you saw Estrof put his hand on the mushroom stalk, and then he kind of pulled out this jerky, and then he started walking towards the center.
So be it. Way to go.
Yeah, Riff follows. He knows that he knows Estrof is good around mushrooms, so he trusts his judgment here.
I bet he is.
He knows his mushrooms.
Okay, so you just walk around the pool then?
Is there any place that's like higher than
There are
other
trees.
places?
There are trees.
Trees. Doesn't help. I still have my longbow out, checking in the distance for anything that's coming.
Okay,
Wait, there's trees in this chamber?
yes.
With green leaves.
They have green leaves, and there are dead leaves like on the ground that have kind of mulched into the ground as well.
Okay. Curiouser and curiouser.
Okay, so you walk and you finally arrive at the opposite side of this cavern. And you see one mushroom glowing. And now you can see that there are 2 large stones that seem to be in front of another cave opening that would allow you to continue down this tunnel. And then they're standing upright, almost like kind of like pillars at the entrance of this tunnel. And then you see another large stone that's like directly on the ground in front of this.
It's blocking the entrance.
Nope, you could just step right over it if you wanted to.
Yes, please. I would like to step right over it.
Okay, you go to do that, and you immediately bounce off of something invisible.
That's a shame.
The way into this tunnel has some kind of barrier. Would you like to examine it, Humphrey Humblebottom?
Humphrey Humblebottom.
Does he make a noise?
Yes.
No, I mean, the only noise is Humphrey going like, ugh.
Oh,
and then
come on. Can
bouncing
it be like
off.
a boing or something? Can we just do this for me?
Yeah, I like pause right at the mushroom, hearing that, and I look over. What are you doing?
Humphrey would certainly like to investigate what's going on with this.
Make a perception plus magic roll.
A perception plus magic roll would be a 74.
A lot.
13.
This is certainly something that is a magical construct, and you, of all people, are fairly certain that it is energetic magic, which is blocking the way.
Is there something that Humphrey, like, I'm thinking like, I'm envisioning the final scene of Harry Potter where Harry and Voldemort are going at it, and whose magic is strong. Can Humphrey, like, push through this without, like, blowing all his claw?
Humphrey could try, or perhaps Humphrey would like to assess the nature of this magical effect.
Only somebody had given me an out in this situation.
If Humphrey were to, say, for example, simply activate his full spectrum vision.
Yes.
For a mere 4 qua. He could
Humphrey would like to
understand.
activate its full spectrum goggles, please.
Yes. Okay.
For
So
4 qua.
make me a roll, willpower plus magic.
Okay, willpower. So, okay, so there's my qua updated. That would be 8d4, which somehow I'm sure will be 6. And 25.
You are fairly certain that this is a little more complex than one might think. That there's a connection between these stones, between the 2 upright stones and the stone that's on the ground, that is somehow connected to the magical effect that has created this energetic barrier.
Humphrey relays that to the group.
Estrof, have you been communicating with your shroom friends at all? They giving you any 411, any information?
Yeah. They're hungry for dead things.
Just out of curiosity, the stone that's linked to the pillars, how tall is it?
So each of the stones are 10 feet tall, standing up, and about a foot around, as is the one that's on the ground. They are virtually identical.
So
the one on the ground is 10 feet tall.
One on the ground is laying down,
It's laying down.
the width of the 10-foot passage. But if
Okay.
you were to stand it up, it would be identical to the ones that are standing up.
And it's exposed, right? So like it's
Yeah, you see
not
like leaves
actually
and
part
mulch
of it.
around it.
Durant's just gonna take a load off on the column. The
Okay.
ones on the ground.
You sit on the column.
Great.
I would say that it's time to ask what Tuco is doing.
Tuco's still, all he knows to do is like watch for threats. So he's got his longbow out. And he's just looking the entrance, the way we came from. He doesn't know too much about, magic stuff. So he's not really trying to decipher anything magic. He's just
Certainly.
sticking with it, what he knows.
Okay, and what is Humphrey doing?
Humphrey's kind of looking around to see if anybody else has any ideas.
Okay, and what is Estrof doing?
Estrof is attempting to feed the giant mushroom with his tiny little strip of beef jerky.
You bring the beef jerky to the mushroom.
Yeah, before I touch it or anything, I'm assuming it's very simple, and I touch it to the mushroom.
The mushrooms, like the little, I don't
Like
even
fronds
know.
or whatever.
Yeah, the little fronds under, that are under the mushroom cap. They kind of flutter back and forth.
I think those are called gills.
Yeah, the gills.
Yeah.
They flutter back and forth.
I look up and I try to
All right, you reach
even though I'm
you
trying
reach the
short.
meat up, and the gills kind of like accept the meat and sort of like bring it up into themselves. As
I'm
this
personally not
happens,
okay with that, but that's
I
fine.
don't like this.
as this happens, all of you who aren't completely looking in another direction notice something starts to glow on each of these 3 stones. The stone that is on the left, you see a symbol begin to appear. And it looks sort of like a crescent moon. The stone on the right has a symbol that almost looks like a sun radiating light off of it. And then you see where Durant is sitting, that the entire length of one side of the stone glows with runes.
Does Humphrey have the ability to determine if he recognizes or can make anything out of these runes? Probably not, because he sucks at that.
They are in a language that you do not recognize.
Okay. If only somebody else could.
Can Durant take rubbings of the runes on some of the paper that he has?
You can.
Well done, Durant.
Oh. Durant, make a perception plus research roll.
That's a lot of dice. Hold on a second while I figure that part out.
I forgot that you had taken.
Gonna find online.
Is my memory correct that Durant had taken rubbings of other things that he had found that he didn't know?
Yes.
Okay.
Durant has been taking rubbings.
Make a perception plus research, but I'm going to tell you up front the difficulty is 14.
Well, I rolled that and plus because I got on my first 4 dice 14, 16, 18, 20. 20.
Wow. All right, you begin to recognize, as you're doing this, you begin to recognize some of these runes. And you see that these runes seem to be they seem to be sentences. Like, because you notice repetition in the patterns. And in the first 4, you see the repeat of a phrase. And in the last, you see that same repeated twice. So that it seems like there are 8 total sentences in these runes. The first 4 contain this phrase. 5, 6, and 7 do not, but the 8th does.
Does Humphrey
And
get the impression?
you get a feeling that somehow this stone belongs on top of the other 2 standing pillars.
Okay.
And Humphrey, with your success in your full spectrum vision, you also sense that somehow this stone being on top of the other 2 pillars is connected to the barrier.
And how heavy is this?
I feel railroaded.
Hundreds of pounds.
Mr. Musashi, would you like to help me lift this?
Let's go. Get something to wedge underneath it.
Durant has a strength of 1, by the way.
This would be a strength plus athletics roll that each of you would roll, and depending on the nature of your success, it will determine how, if at all, you can even lift this.
Can I?
Actually, just tell me your total dice amount for strength plus athletics.
Yeah, it's not enough. So I'm thinking Durant might want to do. He doesn't know the enhance spell, but he might want to use corporeal strength to boost, or corporeal magic to boost his strength.
That's certainly an option.
I got 12.
Yeah, I've got a total of 3 dice. I can max out at 12. So
Tuco can't even lift his side. Like you dig away the mulch, you get a good grip, you kind of put your best flex on, and you can't even get it off the ground.
Even with a crowbar?
Yeah, I would say maybe with a crowbar, you get it an inch off the ground.
Can Humphrey go and help out with this?
How would Humphrey like to help out?
Humphrey has energetic. He has.
wait a second. We don't necessarily need to use magic to solve this. Durant has a bunch of scrounging and crafting.
Simple machines.
Also ropes, and there are available
Please.
things that could maybe fashion a block and tackle.
I've been watching a lot of YouTube with my 7-year-old.
Durant would like to attempt to fashion a block and tackle to lift this.
Yes.
Okay. There are stones, like, kind of rocks that are sizable, but that you could use. What are you going to do for kind of the leverage part?
For the leverage part, Durant has a crowbar and also a couple other things. Bear with me for 1 second while I find that.
Okay, as you're doing that, what is Estrof doing?
Would it be possible, since we have now seen that I can affect, bodies, to, for a short period of time, lend Tuco maybe an upgrade?
You feel that might be possible in this strange world. Your magic and your knowledge is certainly such that you remember from the other world that there was the ability to enlarge a person.
What?
And that
Yes!
not only that, but in the enlarging, you could advance their strength. Is that something you would like to try to do?
More than anything ever.
Definitely, and I don't want to give him any heads up. I want to see him struggling, see the stone, kind of look up and oh.
All right. With your full level of corporeal magic, your attempt is to give the greatest amount of strength and size to Tuco. So you will be blowing 4 qua for impact, 1 for range, 1 for area of effect. And let's say you want to make this last a minute.
I'm gonna die here.
So that is 8 qua.
So that leaves me with 22.
Now I want you to make a willpower plus magic roll.
That is 8 die.
Don't get all ones.
Come on, 32. That's what I hear.
I got to roll 2 more and I'm at 20. $25.
Jesus Christ. All right, so you basically
That's a big boy.
You doubled the level 4 impact. So, Tuco, I now need you to roll 8d4 and add 8 to that.
Meanwhile, Durant's still working on stuff on the side.
Durant's gathering small stones and looking around to find what he could use.
And pulls out his crowbar because that's the best he can do for leverage.
I got a 21. Plus 8, 29.
Okay. So, allow me to describe to you narratively what happens. Estrof, you're a small person, and you know that for someone to be big enough and strong enough to just pick up this 600-pound stone and carefully place it atop these 2 columns, they would have to be big and strong. So you just kind of imagine this in your head, and you begin kind of thinking of Tuco. Tuco, what happens to you is this. You erupt in size.
And I'm trying to lift this up, and as I lift it, I get bigger, and it just kind of lifts as I get bigger.
You immediately break out of whatever armor and clothing you have, everything else that was attached to you also breaks off, including your backpack. Your weapons presumably fall out of your hands because they're now the size of a toothpick, and you are now 32 feet tall.
Sorry, what's the ceiling height here?
Like 80 feet.
Okay.
Remember that there are trees in this cavern.
Right.
So you're 32 feet tall, and you are buck naked because there's no way any clothes would stay on you.
Super glad Estrof.
You're basically the size of a Titan. Everyone around you is really small. And you look down and you see this, what looks like a pencil to you basically now. And you could very easily reach down, pick it up, and place it on top of the other two columns.
I'm going to be very careful that I don't step on anyone when I do that.
Okay. So you kind of bend down. You pick up the stone. It's still glowing, and you place it atop the other two stones. You guys see now whatever the invisible energetic barrier was that prevented Humphrey from simply walking over and through the cave, you see it actually shimmer in that same purple color, and then it fades.
Yes. Well done.
Both of the columns, the symbols on the columns, the moon and the sun, are still glowing, and the sentences, the 8 sentences that are on the architrave of this arch now, are also still glowing.
How tall is the cavern entrance?
This is 80 feet.
8 feet tall.
No, yeah, to go into the next cave or whatever.
Yes.
I'm not gonna fit.
There's no way you can.
I lean down and poke my finger in there.
Yep. Yeah, actually you do, and you can poke in there. There's no barrier.
So, to be clear, like, no armor that Tuco was wearing is salvageable.
Yes, completely gone.
And also, the arm straps on his backpack have been torn, so presumably his bag has to be carried from here on out.
Correct.
And any straps that were holding his weapons to him have also snapped.
Correct.
What about my magic bracers?
Oh, I forgot about those. Those scaled up with you. They're the only things that you're wearing.
And my shining boots. My red boots.
And the boots. The emerald boots. Yeah, so Tuco's buck naked.
No, they're not emerald. They're the ruby.
Ruby boots, yeah. So he's wearing his gold bracers that have scaled up that are now enormous, and his ruby boots. And buck naked.
Chippendales, anyone?
Yeah.
I do like a bodybuilder pose.
You feel more powerful than you'll probably ever feel in your life.
Mr. Musashi, teach me your secrets.
What are the mushroom people doing? Are they reacting?
Oh, yeah, good point. All the mushrooms lit back up.
Whoa.
They're like normal size for me now.
Estrof, are you still standing near the mushroom that you fed?
Yeah, I'm standing like practically right underneath it.
Okay, mentally, you receive a message from it. It says, "Thank you. Beware what lies ahead. It is not kind."
Any more info you can spare on that?
It is primordial.
Okay. I was hoping more like use swords.
You may. You may have to.
Yes.
I glance at my shillelagh now like, oh, okay.
I guess Durant is going to pick up Tuco's bag and his weapons
Durant's like, I guess I'm gonna have to clean up after this mess.
Estrof, you feel like if you wanted to, you could make Tuco return to his normal size. Like, you don't feel like you would have to exert magical energy to do that. You could just decide that this is over.
Would I have to choose where he ends up? Like if I imagined him always slightly shorter than he really was?
That would require Qua.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering if it would be Leighton, like, because he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm taller than I really am."
You
So I guess that's
feel like your effect could be removed, but to change how he is would require more Qua. Like, so you could remove the effect, and he would return to his normal form, his normal corporeal form, with no Qua. If you wanted to like return him but make him 8 feet tall, that would require Qua. Or if you wanted to return him and make him as tall as you are, that would require more Qua.
But that would only be temporary.
Depending on how much duration you spent, yes.
I wonder how much Qua it would take to spend 20 years. He spends the rest of his life.
Now, bear in mind, your effect was only for 1 minute, so you could just wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
And about
no, I go ahead. I relinquish.
Yeah, I mean, about that much time has passed already. So you kind of like relinquish the effect, and Tuco, you shrink back to your normal size.
Well, the only armor I had was basically robes.
So you can kind of cloak yourself in your sort of tattered stuff and use some rope to kind of cinch it around you.
I was kind of thinking more of like my stuff. Or is the backpack still okay? Just the straps aren't any good anymore?
The bag itself is fine, but the straps are shot.
You could just make loops of rope.
Yeah, you can make loops of rope. So you guys take a few minutes for Tuco to get himself composed.
Could Durant use crafting to help that along?
You could use repair.
I don't have repair.
Ooh, I think I do.
Riff walks over and opens his backpack and shows Tuco, I've got a couple of disguises in here. I've got dancer, to wear these clothes, dancing clothes, or carpenter. If you want either of these, you're welcome to borrow them.
Well, I do like to dance the sword, so I'll take dancer.
Okay, got my dancer's costume. And please put it on quickly. There are mushrooms around here, and we're not sure how we feel about naked humans. They might like it, actually. I don't know. Or you can wear the tattered clothing, whichever you prefer.
Okay, so you make a choice and you clothe yourself up and, you know, briefly kind of string some rope together to kind of make this work. The path ahead of you, similar to the other cave tunnels, seems to go off in a straight and level direction. And then you see about 60 feet ahead, it sort of curves to the right. As you guys walk along this path, presumably in the same marching order, you see that it opens up again into a larger cave entrance. And this time you see a cavern of similar size, similar scale, but you see that the floor is entirely full of stalagmites and rocks.
He said with confidence that that's what he meant.
You see rocks, and you see stalagmites, and you see about 100 feet across the cavern another, 8 by 10 cave entrance tunnel. There is no light, though, so fortunately all of you have the benefits of the seeing in the dark vision that was provided by Estrof's spell.
So there's stalagmites covering the whole cavern floor.
Yes, you could like wind your way through, but ultimately, like, it seems like it looks like it's kind of densely packed. But
What's
you could
the
kind of wind your way through.
What's the ceiling look like? Are these rocks falling from the ceiling, or are there?
Nope, the ceiling actually has no stalactites. It's just, a rocky kind of cave ceiling.
Can you clearly see a way through it? Like, is there an exit that we can see?
Yes, diametrically opposite of you is another one of those tunnels.
Master Humblebottom, I'm getting tired of this walking. Maybe it would be better to fly through some of these things.
I was thinking just the same thing, my friend. He was thinking just the same thing, and he looked kind of to the group and like, "You up for a little floating?"
Yeah, I'm not against that. Are there like several different sized rocks nearby, like at our feet at the ground? Maybe like a good size, hand-sized stone or anything like that?
Yeah, there's smaller stones or larger stones.
I want to get one that's like the size of my hand. I just want to kind of lob it into the middle of the room, so just like it would land on the floor.
Interesting. Okay, when you do that, you see 4 of the stalagmites kind of move back and forth. And then they stop.
Interesting.
Were they moving while the rock was in the air, or only when it hit the ground?
Only when it kind of approached their vicinity.
Anyone got to speak with rocks?
So maybe flight is not a bad idea. We want to stay away from these things.
Yeah, I was gonna say, observing it, did it seem like it was more like creatures moving, or did it seem more like a magical thing?
Disturbance in the force.
Do you have material magic?
I do not.
Do you have spiritual?
I do.
I have spiritual magic, yes.
But is it activated? Do you have ghost sight on?
I do not have ghost sight on. Wait, was I the one who was supposed to have ghost sight on?
You had a trigger. You had a
Yeah.
trigger if anything was going to, but nothing's near.
Yeah, and it's also not within 30 feet. Yeah, 30-foot radius.
So what are you doing?
I mean, if we're gonna fly, let's fly.
Okay, so Humphrey is very well practiced at this. So you estimate that it would take more than 1 round, but probably less than a minute to fly up and across this cavern.
What would be the damage on a pass without trace equivalent?
That's energetic magic, but you're trying to you're trying to fly and fly silently?
Yeah. I mean, not that flying is particularly loud.
Okay.
But...
I would say, so instead of 6 qua, I would say you could add that in for an additional 2 qua. So for 8 qua, you could fly in an absolute zone of silence.
But would that last for about an hour, or just for the duration of that?
No, just a minute. I calculated your qua cost for flying the group across this cavern at 6. So 2 for duration, 2 for area of effect to get all of your party members, and then 1 for range and impact.
I think I left a trace already. I think I left a trace. Sorry.
Oh, fair enough.
If there's some sentient creature in here, it probably knows we're here.
That's fair.
Well,
Just in
and
case.
my point would also be that Humphrey doesn't necessarily have to do the move without a trace part. Somebody else could do that.
Okay. I really liked when my magic was overpowered, Bill. So,
But we could do it for all of us and just keep doing it, right? For an hour or whatever.
Doing what?
Maybe useful, being able to fly and being able to pass without trace.
Well, I mean,
But no, Andy made a good point, right? It's like, if anything sentient, thinks that we might be here, like it knows that we're here. So,
but they only reacted when we threw the rock. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
So
Right.
if you wanted to fly the whole group together in a tight formation, and you wanted that to be an hour, it would only be 8 qua instead of 6.
Oh, I got it. Okay. Well, still, that being said, let's just fly and deal with it.
Okay,
This
so
is the worst decision I've ever made.
make me a willpower plus magic roll.
Okay. Boom. 21.
All right, so you don't even have to burn 8 qua. You burn your 6 qua to fuel the spell. And
Okay.
because you were that far over, not only can it last for an hour, but you guys can, as long as you're within 30 feet of Humphrey, you can fly.
Now,
So-
does that, with the way spells are structured here, does that mean anything within 30 feet of Humphrey can fly?
No, because
Aw.
they weren't the intended targets.
Okay.
If we flew out of the 30 feet, fell down, would we be able to just start flying when he flew by it?
Yes.
I feel like I'm running back.
Yes. If you flew out of the area of effect, you would immediately fall. So as long as you're within his area of effect. And Humphrey, because of your spatial and energetic awareness, you would be able to explain this to your party.
Humble. You take care of everybody.
But do you?
Just to be clear, I need to know how you guys are flying. Are you flying up and then across to the other side? Or are you flying low over the
No,
stalactite?
I would. What's the ceiling height?
It's like 100 feet.
Yeah, then I don't see a reason why not to be 50 feet high.
And are there stalactites as well?
No stalactites.
Only the mites. So we're about midway flying over 50 feet or so.
Okay.
But we go straight up before we go in, right?
Right.
Before we
So
go
you
over
go
the stalagmites.
you go up.
Straight up, it's a step. Up,
Yep.
over, down.
Yes. And as you do that, as you're flying over,
Die.
you don't see any disturbance from below. The stalagmites do not react. You get
Excellent.
to the other side and you land in kind of a small clearing just before that tunnel entrance. And you see that this tunnel continues and goes around to the left. There does not seem to be any magical energy barrier. Do you proceed into the tunnel?
Why not? Where else are we going to go?
Okay, you guys fly into the tunnel and land. Seem to be on a very solid surface. And you see that this tunnel extends for another 60 feet ahead of you.
I really want to know what we just avoided.
Make me a perception plus nature roll.
Everyone?
Yes.
Perception plus nature. Oh, okay. Well, not my strength here. 5.
10.
$17.
Nature.
17. Jesus. I guess Estrof, I can see that.
Okay, Estrof.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of hear almost, imagine like white noise, like in the distance, just, kind of like a gentle, like, Estrof, you hear that, but you hear more definitive sounds of almost like a pattern to the white noise that sounds almost like waves coming onto a beach. And it seems odd to you that you would hear that, being that you are well above sea level and you're inside of a mountain. And that, my friends, is where we'll end this episode of the Dads.
Oh no.
Tune in to find out what happens on the next episode. Thank you to all my patrons for making this possible. Thank you for Mike to coming back to the show. We're glad to have you. And we will see you all on the next episode of the Dads. Peace out. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Well, hello, and welcome to Bill Allan World. I am Wizzy, the Wizard. I'm back once again to remind you to subscribe and click on the notifications button, and also watch videos that are over there. Tune in to the next episode of whatever show you were just watching, and watch other shows featuring Bill. He made me say that, because he's a narcissist. Okay, bye.